going on, everybody? What?
It just felt like it took like a little bit of like, it was like revving the engine. It was
really,
like,
yeah.
It stalled for a second there.
It's early. How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by Allie and Amanda. Ladies, how are you? What's going on? What's new? What's great?
I feel like I'm kind of back to square one.
How'd the date go?
With my guy?
Yeah.
That's the thing. The date went really well, just like date number one.
What did you do? How'd you screw it up?
I didn't screw it up. No, it was like,
so you had a nice date.
yeah. And
How did it end?
on that date, we were like planning for the next one. We were like, Saturday sounds good, because he was like Thursday or Saturday, and I couldn't do Thursday. We'd agreed on Saturday,
Which was last Saturday.
Mm-hmm. So we were gonna do like, because this was on a Tuesday, we were gonna meet again on Saturday, and then we like, I guess, kind of briefly maybe chatted throughout the week, but then no plans had been made. So on Friday, I had asked, are we still hanging out tomorrow? Because he had even thrown out the idea of like Disney or like something like big during the day. And I was like, let's do Universal because I have a pass and it's more convenient.
I thought you were going to be like, let's do coffee.
No, I was like, what a fun daytime activity.
I'm in with the theme park for a
Yeah,
third
but
day.
Disney's a little too intense.
I don't want to
for
be
me.
at Disney.
It felt like a long drive. And so I had thought we were doing something like that. And then this was on Friday night. I was like, hey, are we still hanging out tomorrow? And he was really apologetic. He was like, something blew up at work. I'm the only one that knows how to fix it. I'm so sorry. I've been like non-responsive today. And I was like, all good. No worries. And then he was like, yeah, tomorrow, but it would have to be in the evening. And so I was like, okay, did he just maybe he forgot that we were like planning a daytime thing, but that's fine. And then
Possible.
yeah. And I was like, okay, great. But then Saturday, he said he was like feeling sick, and then he was going to go to the doctor, but that it was like just a cold. And then Saturday night, I was like checking in with him of like, how are you feeling? Like, do you need anything? I can send you stuff, like whatever. And he was like, no, I'm good. Da da da. And then he was like, what'd you do with your day? And I was like, I went to Universal with a girlfriend, like whatever. Because I still wanted to do something with my day. And
great.
he was
Love
like,
that.
oh, I'm jealous. And I was like, well, you were my first invite. Like, hello.
You said that?
Yeah. And nothing since.
You didn't respond to that?
Mm-mm.
That was Saturday?
Saturday night.
I'm so curious how you phrased it.
You were my first invite, exclamation point.
Okay.
That's the thing. It feels like really good dates, but then it's in the interim where I'm like, it's just an interesting interim. And
I don't like his lack of a response.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think since we circled around the first time and, texted him and I got your guys' help, like, I don't even really think I have those, like, the wall up per se of, oh, I don't want to text him first. Like, I clearly, like, double text on Saturday to check in. Like, how are you feeling? Like, I feel like I've given myself permission to text whenever I want to or ask questions and be the first one. And I don't even think that's the issue, but I don't want to keep, it's just like a weird, if he's not into it, I don't want to keep forcing it.
No, I think you've definitely put yourself out there. You try to make plans. He has these excuses which may or may not be valid, but he hasn't followed up. He didn't respond to you were my first choice. Because
again, I was talking to my friend during the day who I went to Universal with, and I was like, maybe he did genuinely forget. But like, we did talk about going. So that's why I wasn't even trying to be petty, but I wanted to bring it into the conversation of you
probably could have lost the exclamation point, but like, you were my first, I don't know. You were my first choice.
Yeah.
I think it's totally fine.
You seem very anti-exclamation point.
I know. I feel like exclamation points are friendlier than like a period.
It really depends.
I spend hours slaving away trying to make a text that isn't all exclamation points. Like, I'll be like, what one sentence can I end with a period that doesn't feel harsh?
Give some
to me?
variety.
Yeah.
It's tough. I'm a big believer that generally nowadays people in their 20s, unless they actively are like, I don't want to participate in hookup culture, and I don't mean like, oh, I make them wait 3 weeks. I mean they like go out of their way to avoid like, any type of hookups in like a dating situation. Like, I think everyone is a fuckboy, men, women, and they're just kind of in this kind of non-committal stage, and we're all trying to like feel each other out. And like, if we are dating someone and we sense their excitement, it makes us generally want to like slow things down. And that's where I think the frustration comes in.
I just feel like, because I think there was definitely a time like last year where I was dating in a way like where I was definitely being like similarly flaky to people. And it was always just like an indicator that like I was only thinking about like my like own given needs in the moment and like not really thinking about like, it's like I like would go on dates and like genuinely have a really, really good time with people and then just like be like shit out responding. And it was because like I was just like dealing with my own stuff and I was only thinking about dating as it would look for me and not like another person involved.
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation last night with Scott and Erica and Natalie. If you haven't listened to Going Deeper last week, you want to check that out. We've talked about like people like having main character syndrome, whatever. I mean, if that's like an actual word, but like when it comes to dating, I think we all kind of fall victim of that. It's very easy because dating is so hard and frustrating and complicated to, I mean, put our needs and wants and concerns above all else, which obviously makes sense, but I think it causes us to like sometimes, not empathize with people we're on dates with, so to a certain extent, but only to a
Yeah.
certain degree.
Well, I also think it's like for me, I've been thinking a lot about like how dating is a release, if it is, because I think there's this big narrative of like, especially in your 20s, like it's supposed to be very fun, and also just like new relationships, like honeymoon phase. Like there's a lot of emphasis on like the joy, and I think there's a way for it to be a release in terms of it feeling like incredibly non-committal, like not just in the like know what are we conversations, but in the like literally just like not really feeling like I owe people a text back super early on. And then there's like a release where it's like, oh, I'm being vulnerable. I am like connecting with another person, like XYZ. And so I don't know. It just sounds like
You're in a tough spot because like so we kind of had this kind of discovery with our office texting hours, which by the way, again, Going Deeper last week, you really want to listen to that episode. We even have an update, but what we have noticed through office texting hours, through Allie's story and some of our other callers, is that there seems to be this like phenomenon when it comes to people who are dating early on, who get excited early on about someone. They have a date, they like enjoy the date, and then so that person goes on a date, they get a sense of excitement, and that excitement leads to expectations around like expectations and hopes. Oh, I had a great date. I hope I have a next one. And then with hope, it's just natural to start having expectations. Not like I expect them to do X, Y, and Z, but like it's that hope versus like, oh, well, I want them to call and I want them to plan something and I want them to do this. As soon as we start having expectations can cause disappointment because when people don't meet our expectations, it's normal
especially
to feel
expectations we're
disappointment.
not communicating, because I do not
Yes.
communicate. I am in the same boat. Like I'm like I want them to chase me.
Yeah.
I want them to like put in effort. I want them to make plans. I want them to make me feel special. And but I'm terrified of saying that
Yeah.
because I feel like that's very like counter.
I'm not talking about upfront expectations that we communicate. Yeah, it's just expectations we have in our mind about like, oh, well, if I really like them and if they like me, then they'll do X, Y, and Z, and then this will happen. We all do this. And
If you think for 1 second I didn't get an invite to my cousin's wedding like last week where she suddenly gave me a +1 and I was like, shit, I have until May 31st to figure out if this person and I will be dating in July.
Exactly.
Like,
So you have these expectations, and these expectations, when they don't happen, leads to disappointment. And what we've noticed is that many of our there's thing out there where people who if this describes you out there, that once disappointment happens, we have a lot of people who are seeing that disappointment as rejection, and rejection that it's like it's come and gone, it's past, and they are basically, it seems like, taking this disappointment as like a finality in the situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it is, because in all these situations, we've basically resurrected it to like another date. Now, does that mean it's going to end up in marriage or committed relationship? Not necessarily. That's the hard part, right? The hard part is like getting excited about someone and trying to be objective while enjoying the excitement. It's trying to like, still recognize that we have a lot to learn about someone, and all the things that they show us is part of getting to know who they are. So like this, now you've given them one more shot.
Yeah, do I just leave it and see?
I think you just kind of leave it.
Okay.
because it doesn't sound like you've done any. Like the last text you showed us, we were like, maybe he could, on all these texts, it's like the excited, disappointed person texted in a way that might be seen as, I don't know if I want to deal with that with the other person.
Yeah.
Right. But like,
and I feel like I've like consciously taken that to heart since like we met a couple weeks ago of like still putting excitement forward and not like second guessing if I'm coming off as too eager or desperate and just like saying what I want to say and being, double texting if I like have a question a few hours later. And I'm like, now I'm like, okay, well, I know I've put at least a very good foot forward.
It's that fine line between telling someone what you want from them, communicating whatever expectations you have. I want to hang out. I'd like to see you again. Those are expectations. While simultaneously coming across as, hey, it's no big deal one way or the other, but this is what I want. Like, I'm not living and dying by your decision.
Yeah.
It's just something I'd like to do. And if you don't want to, and then we have to see if these people come around.
Well, and that's kind of how I feel too, because I'm like, I'm not a frequent dater. I don't date multiple people. I don't enjoy dating. I enjoyed the dates with you, which is why I'm open to going on another one, but I'm not going to beg for it.
I think Amanda puts herself in a good situation because she enjoys dating, and like that's just a coincidence. Like it's just like a lucky thing for Amanda because someone in your shoes who's just like, yeah, dating's hard. I don't fucking enjoy it. It's a hassle. So as soon as you have an enjoyable experience, you tend to put more expectations on that one person.
That's a really interesting point about how like, because I noticed this with like some of my best friends of like how everybody has a different stage of cultivating relationships that they rock at. And I have some friends who are just like, I'm like, you are wife. Like you are wife. You are the type of person I want to make financial decisions with.
Yeah.
Like I like long-term things. There are friends who are like amazing for like, relationships and like planning trips and stuff. And then there's like the me who's like enjoys like the getting to know new people. And it kind of sucks. Or like I feel so much like frustration from my friends because they're like, what the fuck? Like, I know I have a part that I'm really good at, but it comes after this shit. And like, I'm not even getting through this shit because it's so annoying and frustrating and tedious. And like, you just like, it happens to be the bit that you enjoy. So like, you go on all these dates and like, I don't know.
I really think the trick is to not see rejection as a negative. You see it as clarity. Like that's the hard part is that in so many of these situations, like in Allie's situation, here we're talking about this guy she's had two nice dates with. He seems fine. There's some potential there. We've discussed potential red flags. We don't know if they're actual red flags. We're just like, I don't know. Like, who knows? We really don't know. But because every step of the way he's being kind of cryptic and hard to figure out, it feels like rejection. And immediately when we feel rejected by someone, we subconsciously, our egos put them on some sort of weird platform and like some hierarchy of power over us rather than just being like, I'm annoyed by this person's behavior and seeing it as something, as a flaw in them rather at us worrying about, did I do something wrong? Could I have said something? Oh, another one bites the dust. I used to be really excited and it's a challenge, but like you have to, I guess, just have to try not to feel like, oh, I got so excited. This, like you had 2 nice dates with someone. Like anyone can figure it out how to like come across as like charming in 2 nice dates if they really tried it. Babble, 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a language on the go. It's, we need to start learning more languages. The world is becoming more global, bilingual. People who know how to speak second languages, and I'm not one of them, I've learned a few words. Like to me, whether they are or not, are like, I consider them significantly
hotter,
more intelligent, more attractive. Just like, it's just such a cool thing. Be cooler by learning a second language. And the cool thing about Babble is they make it super easy. They make it super convenient. So maybe you're traveling, you're going to Europe, maybe you're going to Mexico, Latin America. I don't know. It's great to learn just a few words and phrases to like it make your experience more enjoyable, immerse yourself with the culture a little bit. The great thing about Babble is other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babble lessons are created by over 100 language experts, teaching you methods that have been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babble, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. They have podcasts on their app. You have live classes with Babble Live that you can do. It comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Start your language learning journey today with Babble. Right now, save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/VIALL. That's babbel.com/VIALL. BABBEL.com/VIALL.
60% off.
60% off.
It's basically
That's a lot.
free.
That's a lot.
Money. Babble, the language for life. So many health and wellness brands are alienating customers by pretending their products are prescriptions for living a perfect life. While Mudwater values authenticity over fake marketing and makes room for messiness of the human experience. Mudwater is a coffee alternative with 1/7 the caffeine of a cup of coffee. You get energy and focus without the crash or anxiety. Mud is as versatile as your coffee and can be made in a variety of ways.
It feels like a combination of like drinking like a wellness drink, but then also having like your morning cup of coffee. It tastes normal, which first thing that needs to be said. So what I did with Mudwater when I made it was I mixed it in with some vanilla protein powder. So I made it like this like larger, more like sustain and like did it as like a breakfast situation. And it tasted really like it was like a vanilla chai and it was yummy. It feels like it's invigorating for the brain. There's no like high jitters and then
I hate
crash.
that.
It's
My
just, like,
hands like shake if
a
I
nice,
drink too much
even
coffee.
keeled, like I feel good.
Yeah, I've had to drink less coffee as a result of just too much caffeine. So choose Mudwater. Go to mudwtr.com/VIALL and use code VIALL to get 50% off your first purchase. That's mudwtr.com/VIALL and use code VIALL for 50% off. All orders ship within the US and Canada. I think you should go listen to our Going Deeper episode with Erica and Scott last week, our texting office hours, if you like this Ask Nick stuff. We have 2 office hours, texting office hours. We get into the stuff. If you're someone who is really struggling at this point in the dating situation, some helpful insights. Also, if you haven't listened to last Tuesday's freestyle, if you're following the Amber Heard or Johnny Depp episode, we have Janine Driver, who is formerly with the Department of Justice. Really fascinating stuff in terms of just hearing what like her analysis of Amber and Johnny and what she's seeing in court. Also, my girlfriend Natalie is in that episode. This week we'll probably talk more Johnny and Amber stuff now that the cross examination has been going on, and we have Josh Peck on Wednesday. You won't want to miss that. That's gonna be wild. Let's get to our caller.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hi,
Hi. What's your name?
Erica,
Hi, Erica. How old are you?
27.
How can I help?
A little bit of backstory. So I've been single since probably about 2019. And
When
just
you
kind
say
of like
single, what do you mean by that?
like real single.
I don't know. What do you-
In the dating scene, like on and off dating apps, kind of like not even in a situationship. Like actually
You say that
just
like
going on dates.
you wish you found yourself to be in a situationship.
Yeah, I mean
No, you don't. You don't want a situationship. It's not a good thing. It's a waste of your time. But you
Okay,
have
so I
been
guess
dating.
I've been dating, like
Okay.
I would say like healthy dating, like going on
Right.
dates, getting to know people, not often second dates, but that's okay. Like I think I've gotten pickier about who I let continue down in my life and who I don't.
And how old do you say you were?
Yeah.
26?
27.
27, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I've been single for 2 years, as if like that's a terrible thing. And it's like,
I
no,
guess
I'd
it's
really
not
wish
such a
I was
bad
being
thing.
fuckboyed right now and confused about where I stand. And I wish I was just like, complaining to my friends about some guy who just like shows up at 2 a.m. and gives me some sex, but then doesn't call it. And I wish I had that.
Sometimes a little drama can be fun,
No,
but
I hear
yeah.
ya, but I'm just saying, let's not want like some things that will really make us miserable just because we get sometimes a little lonely and bored. But
okay, valid.
being single for an extended period of time on some level means that you know what you don't want and you're willing to say no to things that are a waste of your time, and that should make you feel good about yourself and hopefully make you feel a bit more empowered.
That's true.
There's a
Well,
lot of
this is
people. There's a lot of people who are just chasing love so badly that they say yes to a bunch of things that hurt them
mhm.
emotionally, or just make them sad, or just generally unhappy.
I definitely see that in a lot of my friends. I feel like I'm always kind of like watching the disasters occurring,
Yeah.
and I'm like on the sidelines, like,
So I would love
yeah,
for you to change your perception of what being single means to you.
okay,
Okay. Anyways, continue.
okay. No, I feel like I knew this was going to happen, where it was going to be derailed, and I would learn something. So
Okay.
that's good. So now I'm at a point where I met this guy, and we've been talking for about, I would say, like a month and a half. We met on a dating app. And like for the first time, I actually wanted to go on a second date and a third date and a fourth date. And like we actually have a really genuine connection. And I feel like he's emotionally mature and he has a good job. And like kind of, I don't know, I'm always kind of looking out for red flags because I'm pretty like aware of those things. So things were going fine. But now that we've been kind of hitting that point where it's like been a month and a half and we've been on like a good number of dates, he is kind of like showing, like we talk a lot. We talk a lot. Like a lot of the time that we spend together is talking. Like we can't get through a movie because we just talk through the whole movie. Like, I don't know, we're both just very talkative. And he is telling me that he's like scared of commitment and like all this stuff, and like kind of like starting to make not excuses, but kind of like, I think he's getting scared. And I never even asked like what we were. I never asked to be exclusive. Like I never even put that pressure on the situation. So I kind of was a little bit like taken aback by that.
That's your question?
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know if that's like a huge red flag or if it's good that he's open about it and that we're able to talk
I
about
think
it.
I think as it relates to you, someone
Mhm.
you're excited about, someone that you want to get to know more, someone that you, at least in its early stages, see him as a potentially as someone you would like to commit to, and vice
Yeah.
versa. I
Yeah.
definitely think it's a red flag
Yeah.
for him to say the idea of committing to you worries him.
Yeah.
And you make no mistake, he's talking about you.
Mhm.
And we all like to, like, when you hear, "Oh, I'm afraid of commitment," like it's just some grand general thing. And like, I don't know this
Yeah.
guy's history or what happened to him
Yeah.
before, but like, maybe someone broke his heart. I don't know, whatever. But like, he's not afraid. Like, it's some
Mhm.
people fucking say, and maybe it makes him nervous. Maybe he, it's very relatable to hang out with you, like you. He can sense where it's going. He senses that you like him, but he's just like, I don't more real. Instead of what's more realistic than him? What is more realistic than him being like, I'm afraid to commit? Like, what is he afraid of? What? Like, I guess you could say, "Oh, I'm worried about getting your heart broken." Like, so is fuck. So are a lot
Yeah.
of people. So are a lot of women. Somehow we only hear how guys are afraid of commitment, but like a lot of people are afraid of getting their heart broken, or maybe he's afraid.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's just. But more realistically, what is he afraid of? He's afraid of committing to you in this relationship and having something better coming along. That's
Mhm.
more likely the real answer.
Okay.
What was your
I think
response?
I was kind of getting the sense that like he is like wants to make sure that it's going to go well. Like he was like asking a lot of questions, and like how would I see an ideal relationship, and like he doesn't want to get into a relationship that like derails everything he has going on. And I'm
What does he have going on?
like just like family issues, like a lot of responsibility with family and work, and he just got a new dog, like
What does that
regular
mean?
things that
Did you ask? I don't know what that means.
like in
Do
terms
you
of
know what that
like
means?
like family issues.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like his mom has like a medical condition and he has two younger siblings, so he's very responsible for he's had to take on a lot of responsibility with the family.
And what does that mean for him as it relates to having a girlfriend?
Well, that's what I think time, like he's worried about losing time
You think
to
time, or that's what he
having a
said?
relationship.
Here's
That's what he
what
said.
here's okay. That's what he said. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Time with his family.
Like, just can he make someone else fit into his life? Well, I guess me in particular.
Okay. But how much time is he spending with his family?
I know that he's with them like at least every day.
I mean, listen, you can't sit there. No one can. Everyone wants to figure out when they like someone and they consider committing to them and calling it like, hey, let's be boyfriend, girlfriend, or define the relationship. Everyone wants to know whether it's going to work out or not. Because if not,
Yeah,
we'd rather
yeah,
just not waste our time, right?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
can't avoid just taking a risk. And
exactly.
I get some of his questions, but the only real answer you can give him is, listen, I like you. I hope you like me. I don't know. What are your expectations for how much, like, regardless of his mom or sister or whatever he has, whatever else he has going on in his life, it's a fair question in any early relationship is like, how much time do you like spending with your partner? Every
Yeah,
day, every
that's a
other
good
day,
question.
once a week? I don't know. Like, everyone's different. There's no right or wrong. Like, some people,
Mhm.
like, they might start off in a long distance relationship and the distance makes them like only see each other like once every couple of weeks. And honestly, for some people, it's a great way to start a relationship because it forces you to slow things down. You can miss them. You can think about them. You spend more time talking on the phone because you can't just have sex all the time.
Yeah.
And that can work for people. But like, it's just a common question to be like, how much time you want to spend with someone? And then, okay, we start dating. And you can say, to be totally honest, I don't know if I can, if I will fit into your schedule. I might
Yep.
find in 3 months that I would like a little bit more, and I might understand that you can't give it, and I might decide to leave. That's just what adults do. If he's actually sincere that he has some legitimate concerns, and he
Mhm.
is trying to be mature and having these conversations with you about it, then he should be able to continue to have these conversations. And the idea of giving it a shot, knowing that it might not work out, and
Yep.
one of you or both of you might come to a realization, it's like, you're great, but like, you're right, this doesn't fit. I want a little bit more, and I don't want to make being with me feel like a chore. Like, I want you to want to hang out with me, and if either you can't or it's just not a priority, that's okay, but like, I'm gonna suss that out early on.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good response to him. I think too, like the last thing he said, which I'm kind of avoiding, but this is like, so this was actually a few days ago. He constantly is like, kind of like, I think he just talks out his thoughts. And he was telling me that like one of the main things he's scared of, in addition to all the other stuff I said, is that he's scared to cheat in a relationship. And I'm like, okay, well, now this is a whole like bigger can of worms.
Has he ever
And
cheated?
yeah, and like he was open about it and like explained the whole situation and everything.
And
But
so
he
as someone
told
who's
go ahead.
cheated before, and then sounds like he might have hurt someone or hurt
Yep.
himself, and so that wasn't enough to make him be like, I'm not gonna do that again?
Well, that's what I'm saying, and like I just think it's strange that he like said that out loud, and I think
It was
I don't
honest.
know. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the honesty, but obviously that makes me feel a little like uneasy as well.
To me, it sounds like a guy who probably deep down knows that he's not willing to prioritize a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the whole thing about you can't change people and all that. So I'm just at the point where I'm like, I mean, I don't think it's a waste of my time because I really enjoy spending time with him, but how long do you I don't know. Like how long do you continue spending time with someone and until you can kind of I guess it's up to me.
It is up to you, but I think, and I don't think there's like a clear answer on how much time, but I think it's shorter than people are willing to give it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think if you decided today that, you know what, this is already too messy, even for a guy I really like, and I haven't liked a lot of guys in a couple years. And to
Mhm.
be totally honest, you're that's why you need to change your narrative of what it means to be single, because that shouldn't play a role into the grace you give this guy or not give. because
Okay.
the way you talk about you being single, you want to suggest that you should give him a little bit more consideration and a little bit more grace because you like him and you haven't liked other people.
Yes.
And 2 years isn't that great a deal of time, and you are
Yeah.
still only looking for one. And I'd rather have you wait 3.5 years or 4 years or 5 years and find a person who you really connect with, who isn't afraid to commit with you, who doesn't have a history of cheating, and even if they
Yep.
do, is so ashamed and embarrassed about it that it's become like this goal of something they are determined to never do again. They can't promise that they'll always love their partner. They can't promise they won't hurt them. But if they ever fall out of love with someone again, they will do the right thing and be upfront and end that relationship before they step out of it.
Okay.
Like that's not hard.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
Yeah. I
You
think that's a good point about, I think when you are looking for so long and you kind of find someone that gives you like a hint of like, oh, this could actually go somewhere, I think it's easy to kind of like put them on a pedestal.
Yeah. But what
And,
you should
yeah.
see it as instead is get excited that get excited that you like someone. Because I understand after a couple years of being single, we can sometimes even worry about like, am I just incapable of liking anyone? Is there anyone out there that I can get
Yeah.
excited about? And so you can. Like this can reaffirm to you that there are people out there. And just because it's the first guy you've liked in a period of time doesn't like mean it's absolutely your guy. It's just a reminder that there are a ton of people out there. And there's a lot more people that you're not compatible with than that you are. And the people who you are compatible with, there's a spectrum of how much. And some of them are like people you're compatible with that aren't right for you. And some people are people you're compatible with who are right for you. So he can be someone that you're excited about and have some compatibility and some chemistry, but he's not right for you.
Yeah.
Or he's not in a place where, so I think right now you're probably have enough information to say, I like you. I'm just getting a sense from you that you're not ready for what I might be ready for. And to be clear, I'm not asking for this
like tomorrow,
but like,
yeah.
I appreciate your honesty, but the fact that it just seems like maybe either you don't like me enough or you're just maybe not ready to make other people a priority. And I do appreciate you being honest with me about that. But right now I'm in a place in my life that I'm looking for people I'm excited about who are willing to make someone a priority. And so maybe we're just not a fit. And then, he see how he reacts. He might come around, he might say, you're right. Maybe that will like make him confident. I don't know. And then if you do decide to give it a shot, I would, have a healthy amount of, let's see, skepticism, but like, yeah, keep your guard up a little bit, rightfully so, because you're still getting to know the guy.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm definitely 100% certain that I'm looking for like a serious relationship out of this. So I need to be honest
don't
about
give him
that.
the option to be your pal.
Yeah.
Don't give him the option to waste your time. Don't give him the option for you to be confused or him to figure it out. Like, you're not interested in it. You have the right to not give him options. You just have to be willing to walk away.
Okay. I know. That's what I think I need to like pep talk myself into. Yeah.
He's just the first guy you've liked in a while. Definitely does not mean he's your guy.
That's true. Putting it into the context that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, go forth. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're going to be great. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. How's it going?
It's going well. My name is Sophie and I'm 30 years old.
And my name is Kevin and I'm 27 years old.
All right. Sophie and Kevin, how are you guys? And how do you guys know one another?
We are married.
You're married. Okay.
Yes. She is my wife.
All right. How can I help?
Okay. So we have a little bit of a family situation that we would love your advice on. My sister-in-law, so Kevin's sister, June, is 22. And she has been in and out of treatment for addiction since she was a teenager.
Okay.
And she most recently went to treatment in April of 2021.
Okay.
And so in October of 2021, she approached both of us and said, hey, I'm going to start drinking again. I ultimately don't think that I'm an alcoholic. And what do y'all think? And we shared our concerns. We absolutely were concerned. Just shared that we thought, maybe give it at least a year before coming to that decision. But ultimately, we just decided to support her so that way she knew she had a safe place to go should there be some sort of relapse or of some sort.
Didn't want to push her away.
No, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And she asked us if we would attend a dinner with my in-laws, so Kevin's parents, where she was going to tell them that she was no longer sober.
But she was hoping you guys would like advocate for her to start drinking?
Not advocate, but be a buffer. Was that what you'd say, Kevin?
Yeah, I would say because the expectation was not that we were going to like try to sell her case or anything like that. I think it was just to make sure that like she felt comfortable in that situation, sharing, and kind of just like made it less intense than maybe having that conversation one-on-one with my parents.
All right.
It happens. We go through with it. The in-laws acted as you believe that they probably would, a little alarmed, but ultimately rallied around her to, know that she had a safe place to go. Fast forward to a few months ago, and my husband finds out that when June was asking to get the family together to tell the in-laws about that she is no longer sober, the premise was that Sophie, was the one that wanted to have a family dinner. And so my mother-in-law shared with Kevin that she felt a little bit of a bait and switch.
Your sister-in-law sold it as you wanted this.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sophie wants to like have dinner and a game night and all this stuff. And so that's the expectation.
Gotcha.
And then plot twist, it's actually...
By the way, I'm drinking again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And we didn't know that that's what she had said at the time. So both Kevin and I independently approach her and we go to dinner, June and I, and she was like, hey, ostensibly do apologize to me is kind of what she was getting at when, and I said, hey, like, this is something that my family would used to do. They would reach out with the premise of just to see me. Can I just spend time with my daughter? And then there would be an agenda. So it always felt like I had to be on edge, and I just didn't like to be used in that way. And so simply I wanted to be like, hey, that's not okay that you used me. You've got to own your own thing. We were there to support you, but not to be part of the manipulation. Sure. And she basically says she's sorry, but it's not her fault that her parents got upset. And that if Sophie, were closer to my mother-in-law, then she wouldn't have reacted that way and gotten upset. So it's on me because I'm not as close to my mother-in-law, and that's why she got upset. It's not her fault. So
how'd you respond to that?
Delusion? I was really hurt, honestly, but I also said, like, you used me to manipulate. And she said, well, I don't want to be associated with the term manipulation because that's an addict behavior, and I don't consider myself an addict.
Oh, convenient.
And I said, right. And I said,
I mean, I don't know what addict behavior means. I do like everyone can be manipulative, and you don't need to be an addict to do so.
That's actually exactly what I said.
We quite literally, every single person has been guilty, whether we got called out for it or not, of being manipulative and kind of selling ourselves on our alternative motives, right? Like, anyway, so we're on the same page, but.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. I was like, I can't speak to that, but I do know that this was manipulation. So I don't like that I was used in it. I just wanted to have a candid conversation with you to draw a boundary, and like, that's not cool with me.
I would also point out to your sister-in-law that, well, again, it sounds like you are so hell-bent on not being considered an addict that you're willing to ignore your own behavior out of fear of what that might mean. Either you are or you aren't. Either way, we love you, you know? And I understand no one wants to be labeled an addict, but some of us are, and you don't get to decide whether you are or not, you know?
Yeah.
And out of love, I would say something like, as someone who loves you, I'm afraid that based on what you're saying, this idea that you are unwilling to own up to this thing, and we're not like exiling you. We're just, hey, I'm hurt. I'm a little frustrated with it. Hey, I've been manipulated before. It's not the end of the world, but I do want to check you on this behavior, and I want to avoid it in the future because, like you said, you've had to deal with that, and it created an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship, and you want a healthier dynamic with her. And like, if you're going to turn that around and kind of gaslight you into feeling like maybe you did something inappropriate, to me, that speaks to how you're handling the situation, sets off alarms in my head that I need to be more concerned about the fact that you are drinking, because you seem to be so hell-bent on ignoring any signs that might suggest otherwise. So
Yeah.
there's no level of objectivity on whether you actually have a problem or not. You've just decided to not have it. And that's not going to change whether you are or aren't.
Totally. And like, that's actually, it's interesting. She at the dinner called me a gaslighter.
Gaslighters tend to do that.
And that's when I was kind of like, we can no longer have this conversation right now because this is not productive for us at all. So she left, had words with my husband when she got back to our house to get her car. And
that conversation was just like, I was just trying to figure out like what happened. And it again was just like no accountability there, like all focused on like why she was still right. And I was just there like we are not over here trying to get you to apologize for like, we're just trying to have like you have you have an apology, just like say, hey, I'm sorry, this is what I did, and have accountability. But she's like, well, I feel like I'm just being blamed for everything and that kind of thing. And
Sure.
And it was just, I don't know, it was not a productive conversation.
I'm curious, did you ask her, because she was like clearly triggered by you accusing her of being manipulative, like whatever the name is, did you ask her like, okay, well, what would you call what you did? Forget about what I'm calling it. Like, what would you call it? And do you at least agree that you might have misled people in that room?
I did say something to the effect of, so what do you think that happened?
Okay, and what did she say? The way you're describing it, it sounds like she kind of acknowledges that what she did was like not okay, but she doesn't like the idea of being called a manipulator because to her that suggests that there's something more wrong with her. And clearly she's very self-conscious and very sensitive about the idea that there's something wrong with her.
I could totally see and agree with that. And I think that really leads to the ultimate question of, I understand that she is young. She's gone through quite a bit in her life, and there is grace for that. I also want to maintain strong boundaries, and I can't control her actions. We have not spoken since this event. And I don't want to have a relationship with my family, my sister-in-law, that is fraught, right? Like, obviously I can only control my side, but I think, how would you recommend, we have a huge family trip coming up in July. How would you recommend approaching her to, I guess, clear the air without necessarily taking ownership of it myself?
And one thing that I kind of want to add to that as well is who should approach who in the situation. I think that's something that Sophie and I have both talked about as well.
It's tough. Family's tough because it's like we're gonna we'll call on Justin Long often, but like this is like definitely a lead with love situation where I think you can be in conflict with someone. You can not be speaking, and there's never a wrong time to send a text or to reach out in a way that you're comfortable with to say I love you. You know,
Mm,
and you just
yeah.
say, I just was thinking about you and I love you, right? So maybe sending something like that. You saying that doesn't mean that you are backtracking on how you felt. You're not even getting into the conversation. You're just putting it out there that you care about them. I don't, they might not, I wouldn't expect a response. Maybe they do respond. And if they do see that as a window to get into it with you, that you can say, I'd love to talk to you, but like me loving you has nothing to do with me still wanting to we're in conflict of how we see this situation. But I do love you. I'll always be there for you. And right now we don't see eye to eye. And someday, hopefully soon, we can sit back down and work through this. But it's going to require both of us. But this might be a time right now. I think the first reaching out should just be kind of an act of love that speaks to just, you still love her. So just say that, put it out there that you still want to be there for her. Try to like diffuse the tension, because you're talking about someone who, whether they're right or wrong, is incredibly sensitive to how people see her. She probably is incredibly sensitive to how she sees herself. And that can be a struggle, I think, for people who are really having a hard time with that. I thankfully I haven't struggled with addiction or anything like that. I've had a relatively charmed life, and I can only imagine feeling alienated and alone at 22, wondering like, how did I become potentially an alcoholic or an addict?
Yeah.
I felt like that when I got broken up with or heartbroken or cheated on. We always think, how did this happen to me? So she's probably feeling really defensive about that. So yeah, that's what I would first do. And that's definitely not going to like solve the problem. But I think it's also just important to you can never do that enough. I mean, if you did it like every 5 minutes, it might get weird and harassing. But like you can't remind people you love that you love them too much, in a reasonable way. And and then when it makes sense, see how she responds to that. There's a good chance he doesn't respond. And if she does, maybe she sees that as an opportunity to bring it up. And you just say, hey, listen, I just want to tell you I love you. And the fact that we haven't been talking has made me sad. And I just hope that we have an opportunity to sit down and try to iron this out, right? So before you sit down with her, I think it's important to not make it feel like you're right and you're waiting for the opportunity to convince her to see it your way.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good call. I mean, a good call out in general, because I think absolutely I've let a little bit of my hurt and feeling like almost like Twilight Zone, a similar family situation that I've had in the past is happening again, kind of put up my walls and cause me to not see it from that perspective. So I do appreciate that a lot. I think it's important that, we understand that, I guess, if we call it like the ego, I had my ego triggered myself, sure, I guess a little bit, and gotta put that away.
And like from where I sit, you are right. You know what I'm saying? It sounds, right, but like it's not going to do you any good making her, because the more she feels, she probably knows you're right, but like she needs to feel safe enough to sit down with you and have her ego not activated in a way where, and there's also, that's something for you to consider too, is that maybe you don't really need her to like say you're right and I'm sorry. Like ultimately that would be nice, but we are dealing with someone who potentially is working through some shit, some personal shit, and they're not where they need to be. And You know, we're also potentially talking about someone who probably is an addict and afraid to even acknowledge that. And that's scary for her, right? So you might have to be the bigger person without making her feel like you're being the bigger person.
Oh, those are all great points. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I think ultimately, like, you know, her recognizing what she did, apologizing would be great. But I think the better outcome that I'm seeing now, because of what you said, Nick, is just like her actually learning and doing something different, right? So like, even if she never owns up to like this specific thing and never says the words that like says those words, right? Like, if she starts to actually conduct herself in a different manner, that would be better than her just saying, "Hey, I'm sorry."
100%. And eventually, maybe she gets to a point where she's like, "Hey, you remember that a couple of years ago was total nightmare. My bad." You know, like definitely
Yeah.
that might come down the road. But the more important thing is that she stops doing the behavior that you're not okay with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if she does do
100%.
it again, then you confront by saying, "You did it again." And what do you mean? The thing I asked you not to do, you did. Whatever you want to call it, I don't like that you did that. So you're making it hard for me to be there for you, because she asked you to be there for her. And she asked you guys to be there for her with a topic that, quite frankly, you weren't even totally comfortable with. You felt like you're giving, like, honestly, like two bad choices. It's just like either kind of loosely support you in this thing that we quite frankly don't want to support you in, but we also don't want to alienate you. So we're going to choose not to alienate you, and we're going to be supportive. And you asked that of us. You asked me a favor, and I wanted to be there for you. And now you're making, and so that's what you need. If she does it again, that's what you need to articulate is what you are doing is you're making it really hard to want to be there for you. And I so deeply want to be there for you because I love you. But like you make that really hard. And whatever you want to call it, you need to hold yourself accountable to like help people help you if that's what you want. You know, and if you don't want their help, that's fine, but don't ask for the help. But if you're going to ask for help, you have to be respectful of us and our feelings.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Hope it was helpful.
I definitely think it was.
All right. Yeah, send her a text today and just be like, thinking about you. I hope you know I love you.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll see you soon. Just make it not about anything you're fighting over. You're just letting her know that what is true, that you love her.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that too. Probably not in the same time frame. So
It's like the same time, like group text. No. But yes. Yeah, maybe you wait a week or two, and maybe it's just like thinking about you, or just how's your day, you know? Yeah, I don't think you guys making contact and letting her know you care about her is letting her off the hook.
I think that's fair.
It's a good way to look at it.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right, take care. How's it going?
Hi,
How are you? What's your name?
I'm good. I'm Emma. I'm 31.
Hi, Emma. How can I help?
I'm Swedish,
Ooh.
living in Thailand. Yeah.
Wait, you're Swedish who's calling from Thailand.
Yeah, I am.
Amazing. I love that
right.
for us. Great. How
Yeah.
can we help?
To start off, I will give you some background. I moved to Thailand in 2015 for like a sabbatical.
Okay.
Took a half year off. Just shortly after coming here, I met my ex-boyfriend and decided to stay. I found a job here actually. 1.5 years later, I got pregnant. We got pregnant. I kept the baby. It wasn't planned, but went with it. We split up 1.5 years later. After that, when my daughter was 1.5. Shortly after that, I started talking to more with actually a colleague of mine. We don't work in the same office. We work for the same company, but he lives like 3 hours away from here. So it's just texting and talking a little bit in the beginning. Then I went to see him. We started dating you could say dating. We hooked up and we started dating really casually. Since we're in the same company, we like kept it a secret from everybody. And we just saw each other like maybe once or twice a month for almost a year, maybe 8 months or something, before we decided that we wanted to take it further and define the relationship, I guess you'd say. So yeah, after like 8 months, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and people started to find out a little bit more from work. They were fine with it. It's like Thailand is not the same kind of rules or anything as I guess in other countries. And yeah, things were great. The thing is, as I said, he lives 3 hours away from here, so this is a long distance relationship. This was like 3.5 years ago now that we started dating, and we are still together. We have been long distance all this time, except for like the lockdowns. We had like a few months. There's been like 3 lockdowns here in Thailand, and for all these 3, we could spend like 2 months together or something. He came and stayed with me and my daughter during the time. But besides that, we've just been seeing each other like twice a month, maybe. I went up to him, or he would come to me. And this has been the relationship for 3.5 months or years now. And for us, it's been working really, really good. I know it's like a thing with long distance relationship, like they don't work and doesn't work. I totally believe it depends on the people who are in the relationship and what they want from the relationship. For us, it has been working out so good because in the beginning, I told them like my daughter is my number one focus, and I'm happy to have a partner beside that. But this is my focus right now, and for him, he was really happy with that because he's really independent person. I guess as you go along in a relationship, before in the past, I've always been really quick to like move things forward in a relationship. Always moved in, always would be like talking about the future and things like this. And naturally, we started to do this. But the thing is, with our work here in Thailand, it's super hard to find work when you're not a Thai person. So we're really slim pickings. So he had to stay in his job, and I had to stay in my job. Otherwise, we couldn't be in Thailand, pretty much. So like moving together, there was not really an option for us, or like moving closer together. So we always knew that this was our situation, but still like we started talking about how we could move things forward. And me, as I am in my head, I always want to move things along in my life. That's why I moved here to Thailand. I always like things to happen. I don't like to just sit in one place and I guess you could say bored easily. Yeah, so we started talking about, one day in the future, maybe he could move here. We could work that out. We eventually, started talking about kids and all these things as you do in a relationship. And even more so with the first lockdown, when he came to stay with us for like 2 or 3 months or something, he was like, yeah, I totally love this. After this, I want to be here more and look at like options to be able to maybe move here in the future. For me, being with you guys, me and my daughter is like more important than spending all this time by myself. So yeah, that was like in my head then, I like to plan forward and think about things. I have a hard time living in the moment. So, time went by and for me, the plan was that we sometimes would move together, or he would move here, because I couldn't move to where he is. And things progressed. Like we see each other, things are good. But then came to like, yes, it's almost a year now. Last year, Christmas, all of a sudden, he said he is looking at a new apartment in where he lives in the city, just a nicer apartment. And I got a little bit shocked because for me, like in my head, then I've been planning, maybe what he's going to move next time is to us. And for him, he was like, they're going to sign this new lease 2 years on this new apartment. So this was like, I said, this is shocking me a little bit because I thought our plans were moving together. And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't think about it like that. And it made him
How did he think about it?
I don't know. He just thought like that would be maybe in the future or something, or like in 1 year or whatever. Like we'd never set a date or something. And he said like, just because I'm moving to a new apartment doesn't mean I would never move to you guys. But then we just started talking about this, and then he was like, oh, maybe I'm not ready then. Maybe I didn't realize how much I will have to give up to be able to move to be with you guys and whatever. And for a month, we were like just in some kind of limbo. We saw each other like once or twice more, and it was just really weird. And then we broke up actually. And then, where he broke up with me, I should say, because I still wanted to work things out. But it was just really weird because we still loved each other a lot, and we were just like, both of us were kind of devastated. But for him, it was a little bit just like, maybe I'm just not ready for what you want right now.
So he broke up with you because he got a 2-year lease and you asked him why, and then he had some like great epiphany that he could no longer see you, even though the majority of the relationship was you guys seeing each other, twice a month, and it was going quite well.
Yeah.
Like what?
That was exactly like my thought. I was so shocked because I did not see this coming at all. It was just one conversation we had, and he was just like, yeah, when you're telling me like things like this, I didn't even think about, maybe I can't move. He's 30. He's 1 year younger than me.
Okay. Where is he from?
Yeah. He's also from Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he just broke up with me, and I was, like I said, like, and how you put it, it's like shocking. Like the reason you're breaking up with me, to me, is really silly. We can work this out somehow. So we took some time apart. We tried to not like communicate or whatever, but it was super hard because we talked to each other all day, every day before, like how you maybe do in a long distance relationship, keep in contact every hour or something. And it was super hard. And I was just like, I think we can work this out somehow. I mean, for me, it's more important to be in a relationship with you or have it the way we had it, because I was happy and you were happy, than, planning for a future that might not even happen. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm happy how it is right now. And he was just like, yeah, I really want that too, but I also know you want more children, and I'm maybe not ready for that for like another 10 years or something, and I don't want you to sacrifice something like that. And for me, it was just like, I have a child, I'm really happy in my life.
Have you ever told him that you want more children?
Yeah, we talked about it like a lot of times. For me, like before, I wanted them much more than I do now. Actually, I wanted just a sibling for my daughter. But with time passing by, I feel more and more like I'm really happy with just having her, and not really wanting to repeat all the toddler years and all this, because she's 5 now, and it's like easy for the first time. But yeah, so he said like, yeah, I feel like, he said to me, like, I feel like with my whole like being, like, this isn't right. Like, I don't want to be apart from you, but I feel like I don't want to hurt you in the future. I'm not sure that maybe if in like 8 years, maybe I don't want children or something, and then you have like wasted your time or something like that. And I just told him like, I don't see it like that. For me, I am happy how we were when I was not with him for these like was 1 or 2 months or something. I didn't know what's like do, and I just really missed having my person that I talk to all the time, and like this. So like, yeah, we kept talking a little bit, but it was really hard. We keep in mind we still work together. We work together really closely during all of our relationship. So it was always,
so even
like,
though you're
separate.
not living in the same spot, your work requires you guys to interact.
Yeah, every day, daily.
Okay.
So we always were really good at separating like the work people and the relationship people. So we could have a fight at work and then drive home, and then like 5 minutes later talk normal at home. So that was good. And that was always so good during the split up that it didn't really affect our jobs. But yeah, it was hard to not, talk a little bit at work when we were talking about our relationship and stuff too.
So where are things now?
Yeah, so the the split up was just actually 2 months of our relationship, because what happened was that we saw each other for work, and then he was just like, I guess he had some kind of epiphany, and be like, I really really screwed up. I was kind of hard on him, and I didn't like take him back or anything. I just told him like, if this is what you want, I really want to see it, and you need to show me. And he really did. And
What did you mean by
we
that,
took
though? Like,
I meant that if he really wants us to be together, I want him to be a little bit more sure than he was when he broke up with me. Obviously, that he wants to be with me and we can make it work.
yeah, but if I'm understanding you, is that, and granted, I agree that his reasoning to break up with you didn't quite make sense, but it didn't seem like his desire to be with you was ever in doubt. Like, I don't necessarily understand or agree with like his decision-making tree or why he went about the way he did it. But if you believe his reasoning, and that's a big if, is that, you don't doubt that he cared for you or loved you, wanted to be with you, even after he broke up with you, it seemed like you never even questioned that. It sounded like the reason why he broke up with you, coming from you, is that he too, overall, really liked what you guys had. And despite you guys talking about the future and talking about the possibility of one of you moving, him moving, whatever, that he didn't take that conversation, I guess, is not necessarily maybe all that serious, but is all that urgent. And so he went and
Yeah.
signed his 2-year lease. You kind of had well, that's a 2-year lease. So I guess, hey, well, nothing's going to happen in 2 years. That's a long time. And
Okay.
then you made a comment to him. He was like, kind of like had a realization, maybe got slightly defensive, and then thought he was doing the right thing by saying, well, if this is what you want, and by what you want is you want to live with your boyfriend, or you want someone to move, well, maybe I'm not ready for that. Maybe I'm not ready for kids, and then he broke up with you. And then he realized, well, he didn't want to break up with you because, well, I love you. I miss what we had. And you were like, I miss what we had too. And then he wanted you back. And it sounds like you were like, well, I'm going to make you beg because I want you. I don't know. Not that you like wanted him to suffer, but like you were trying to you know what I'm saying? It doesn't quite, like, I get where I get your intention, but it wasn't like, this wasn't a guy who called you up one day and said, I'm not sure how I feel about you. I'm not sure how I feel about us. I'm in my head. I don't feel like myself. And ultimately broke up with you because he wanted to date other people. And then,
No.
and then wanted, after like 6 weeks of, going on the apps and swiping right and maybe having a hookup and then getting rejected, he was like, you know what am I doing? I should go back with my girlfriend. Like, that's not what happened, but that's how you are treating him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I guess it came off like that. But what I mean was, I wanted him to really show me in a way that, that this is what he really wants.
And how did you expect him to show you?
I just wanted him to take the initiative really and initiate the talk and everything about how we would do it and how we could make it work and everything. Because I think in our relationship, I'm maybe the leader of all the conversations and take initiative into all these things. And I just wanted to see it from him also, that he actually does really care as much as I do. And really it's coming from him, not just me forcing him to say these things or like pushing him to say it.
So are we, what's your overall question? Like, what are we trying to make sure that you're not risking something you're going to want in the future? Or
like, how can I be sure that in the moment when it feels good, I will not wake up and be like, yeah, that was 10 years of the maybe most best years of my life that I should have been focusing on, like building this future for me.
Well, I guess the short answer is you can't make sure, right? You can't predict the future. You also can't predict the changing of feelings, whether it's your feelings changing about him or how many kids you may or may not want, or his feelings changing about you, or whether he wants kids, or he wants to move back to Sweden, or maybe you miss your family. I mean, who knows? You don't really know. The only thing you can do and people can do is just try to be as honest with themselves in the moment about like those non-negotiables, and then have those non-negotiables. It's tough to like respect your non-negotiables if you aren't really sure what your non-negotiables are. And
Yeah, that's very true.
and I and I'm not saying you're doing this, but when it comes to things like non-negotiables, like having kids and living in different areas, there are bigger risks, right? And we have to be sure that we're really being honest with ourselves. Like, are you really okay with waiting, or are you just convincing yourself you're okay with waiting because right now, today, you don't have this burning desire to have more children,
Yeah, that's
And
the
is there a
question.
part of you that is the part of you that is wondering? Because right now, all I've heard from you is like, honestly, things are pretty good. I'm really enjoying my life. Long distance wise, I mean, sure, maybe I'd see him a little bit more, but it works for us. I enjoy missing him. He misses me. And since we work together, we actually see each other plenty, and I'm able to prioritize a lot of my free time. I get to focus on my daughter still and myself, and that's great, right? And so,
Yeah.
is there a part of you that is, kind of yelling out, "Hey, we actually do want these things," but you're kind of convincing yourself because, well, he broke up with you and it surprised you, it hurt you a little bit, you were upset, and rightfully so. And then when in those moments, in those vulnerable moments, we have a habit of kind of negotiating ourselves with ourselves about things we really want. For you, it's just coming down to really thinking about what is really important to you, even if that means losing what you have. And that
Yeah.
can be scary. But it sounds like there is something inside you that is questioning your decisions about what you say you want right now. And I think the only reason you wonder if you might regret it in the future is because there's a part of you that thinks you might. Because even if
Yeah.
you weren't worried about it now, you could. Because feelings change. You could sincerely
Yeah,
not
that's
want
true.
it now, and then 5 years later be like, I've changed my mind. But the
Mhm.
fact that you are worrying, there's a part of you that wonders about it now, means there's a part of you that knows that you very much might want more kids, or you just want to spend more time with them. And
Yeah.
if he is someone who is just like, I'm definitely not going to want to have kids before I'm 40, then that is definitely a potential non-negotiable.
Yeah, that's true. And I think what we learned from the breakup also, like you said, is we need to touch base a little bit more often, just to have the conversation if it comes up, see where we both stand. And,
Yeah,
because I do change my mind so often with so many things.
And-
I think it's hard to follow.
and bring up timelines too, because it sounded like you had a
Yeah.
conversation about potentially living together, but you never were like, when,
Yeah.
deadline, they always say like deadline spur action, so to speak, in negotiations. Well, if you never set like a deadline, nothing's really going to happen, and not that
Yeah,
you
that's
want to
true.
give them an ultimatum or a deadline, but you guys, if you guys could work towards a goal, it's like, hey, we should, someday we should move in together. Someday. Well, that's pretty vague. And your someday
Yeah.
could mean 6 months. His someday might mean 5 years,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's very true.
you just have to have some conversations that are more focused on what you really know you want. The breakup could be helpful in the sense that, like, yeah, listen, buddy, I know you don't want to have kids till you're 40, or you don't want this, but like, you have to decide, and I have to decide, is losing what we have worth it? Is he willing to make some sacrifices for you? Like, are you guys willing to make sacrifices for the relationship? And right now,
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys have this really nice relationship that is very convenient for allowing both of you to prioritize your own personal needs,
Mhm.
right? And that works for some
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
eventually, as the relationship grows, that it's going to require more sacrifice and more of each of you prioritizing each other and less of yourselves as the individual. And the big question is, are both of you willing to do that?
I guess it took some time also, like getting used to this whole thing about not like moving things forward, rushing things or anything. And now that we are used to it, I feel like it's, like you said, a perfect situation for us right now, and we're really enjoying every part of it. So yeah, also a little bit of a shout out to long distance relationship. They can really work, like if you do it, if you have trust, and if you are on the same page with everything and everything, it can be really nice.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can
Setup,
work
I
for a
guess
lot
you
of
would say.
people too, just because like some people don't need to see people every day, or
Yeah.
there is something to be said about missing people. It just depends on each person, but you just have to be really honest with yourself about the things that you might want in the future.
Yeah.
Nothing's certain.
Well, I guess we just have to keep on talking about it like openly, and like you said, maybe it's good to have some kind of timeline of something, even if we're just enjoying the moment now.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I appreciate
Well,
you
thank you
calling.
for your input.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for
All right.
having my call.
Take care.
Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com. Cast with a K. Subscribe, rate, review, all that fun stuff. We'll see you back tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.